It feels like it's been ages since I've come on and done a proper live. It hasn't. It hasn't. It was only Tuesday. But yeah, it just feels like it was ages ago. But anyway, we're here. I can't believe it's Thursday. The weeks at the moment, like the days and the weeks, are just absolutely flying by, aren't they? Absolutely, like, just disappearing. Anyway, we're here. We're on it. We're ready to go. How is your weight loss week doing? I think when we get to a Thursday, we're kind of in that, we're in that position where we should be able to, we know how it's gonna end up. I think, in a way, don't get me wrong, the weekend can be very, very dangerous, but I'm a big believer in setting a good foundation. If you set a good foundation, then hopefully you'll come out the right end, if that makes sense. Anyway, should we do a top 5 this morning on TikTok? I might just give it another minute or so because I have just jumped on. I've come on quite quick this morning. What have I been up to today already? Been to the gym. We've been to the gym. We've been and trained. We've got a nice early session in. I'm then here for the day. I've got a lot of admin bits and pieces to do today, but we're here for the day. And we'll get stuck in. And then I'm going to try and do a little bit on my garden this afternoon. I'm just tidying it up, getting ready for summer. I've got a few mates coming round on Saturday for a bit of a barbecue and that. So yeah, I might try and dedicate an hour or so to the old garden this afternoon. We'll see. We'll see where we get to that. I hate gardening. It is not that I've really got any gardening to do. I'm just going to do a little bit of tidying up and a little bit of jet washing, really, to be honest with you. I did do a bit of de-weeding yesterday, but yeah, I'm just not a gardener at all. As always, guys, this is a Weight Loss Live. If you've got any weight loss questions, please get those in. I will try my very best to answer them if I can to the best of my ability. Right, now let's do the top 5. Callum's in at number 1. Sheila's in at number 2. Lisa's in at number 3. Pete's in at Paul is in at number 4, and Faye is in at number 5. Good morning, guys. You're on my top 5 this morning. Thank you very much for jumping on the live, coming and saying hello. Amy, good morning. Jill, Karen G. Hey, Neil, going to check in Saturday if that's okay for a one-off. Julie, absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. I am a little bit all over the place. Like I say, I've got some mates coming around on Saturday. And the plan is I am spinning Saturday morning. I'm going to get showered and changed at the gym. And then one of my mates that's coming up on Saturday afternoon, I think he's coming back with me. But I'm going to get in here. I should still be able to get in here for about half an hour on Saturday morning. So, yes, check in on Saturday. That's absolutely fine. If I don't get you checking, if you do check in on Saturday and I don't get you checking done on Saturday, it will be done Monday. All right. But I will try my very best. Normally, I do a bit of work on a Saturday. I tend to work 6 days a week. So I tend to do a bit of work on a Saturday. So, yeah, absolutely fine. Nothing is set in stone, guys, when it comes to being on plan with me when it comes to check-ins. Yes, Friday is generally check-in day, but if you needed to have checked in this morning, is it Thursday today or is it Wednesday? Yes, Thursday. If you needed to have checked in this morning, absolutely fine. If you want to check in on Saturday, the odd week, and I do have clients that do check in more Saturdays than Fridays because they're up early for work or they work night shifts and this and this. So it's all good. It is all good. Karen H, good morning. James Ridley, good morning. So far, so good. Depends on the weekend away, though. So there will be lots of food to tempt. Yeah, absolutely. So I always say this about laying a good foundation for a weight loss week. And, I'm not saying this is the be-all and end-all because it really, really isn't. Because certain weeks, like last week, if you've watched my weekly weight loss vlog, it didn't quite go to... Not that it didn't go to plan. It actually went to plan. But I ended up having a high-calorie Monday, which I don't really like. And then you're chasing your tail a little bit. But I think if you get to a point on Thursday, like you've done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and everything's kind of slotted into place, it kind of builds your confidence up for the weekend. Obviously, we can get spontaneous things that happen at the weekend, but even if we bank the calories correctly, we've been on track, even if some spontaneous things crop up at the weekend, we should be able to kind of handle them in a way. And remember, a good weight loss week is not about always smashing your steps. It's not always about sticking to your ideal deficit. Sometimes you'll go over. Sometimes your steps won't be 100%. But what you need to ask yourself is, was there good reason for that? And if at the end of it, there genuinely is, right? So you might end up on Sunday night, and you've gone 1,000 calories over your ideal deficit. You're still in a calorie deficit. You're still in if you're in a 3,500 calorie deficit a week, right? Let's say 14,000 calories a day puts you in a 3,500 calorie deficit a week, which is what we need to be in to lose a pound of body fat, right? So let's say by the time you go to sleep Sunday night, you haven't had 14,000 calories, you've had 15,000. Right? A lot of people have this mindset, oh, blow my weight. No, you're not. You haven't blown anything, right? If 14,000 put you in a 3,500 calorie deficit, then 15,000 puts you in a 2,500 calorie deficit. You might not have lost one of these, but you've lost at least 2/3, up to 3/4 of one of those. So, and that's always going to happen every now and then. And what would we class as good reason? Well, do you know what? Certain things that you might see as a poor excuse, for me, at times, is a good reason. Let's say you've been absolutely on it for 6 or 8 weeks, 10 weeks. You've been out week in, week out, pretty much ideal deficit. And then for whatever reason, weather's amazing and your friends invite you around for a barbecue. And it wasn't really planned in, and you end up going to the barbecue and you have a little bit of a blowout and you have a few drinks and a bit of food, right? Yes, it wasn't planned. Yes, you might have the mindset, well, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, if you've been on it for 8 to 10, you deserve a Saturday barbecue. You deserve going and having a few drinks with your friends. You deserve having a little bit of a blowout, right? It's like if you save up for 3 months for a new pair of trainers, you deserve to go and have those trainers, right? And you're going to spend a bit more money on a Saturday than you would normally spend, but you've earned it, right? Nothing wrong with a bit of a work and reward mentality, So some people might be like, well, I've got over my calories because I didn't have the willpower to go to my friends. Like, sometimes willpower doesn't need to be there. And again, like I'm saying there, you might have been absolutely on it. March, April, you've worked around Easter, worked around kids' Easter holidays, this, that, and the other. And it's just like, do you know what? I need to go and have a little bit of a blowout. And you go and have it and you enjoy it. Now, what I would recommend if you're going to do something like that is try and be as accountable as possible. Try and track. Try and keep those things into place. You don't need to maybe track to your ideal deficit. Just track. Just get what you're having in your app. And like I say, it answers a lot of questions, because if you, one of the worst things you can do at a weekend is not track your calories. If it's not planned. If it's planned that you're not going to track, that's absolutely fine. Right? So, and what I mean by that is, if you've had a really good week, Monday to Friday, and then, the WhatsApp group pings, we're going to have a barbecue this afternoon if anyone fancies it. And you're like, yes, I do fancy it. If from that moment you're like, oh, well, I'm going to go to a barbecue, I'm going to eat loads, I'm going to drink loads, there's absolutely no point tracking, then that will ramp, or it could, I'm not saying it will, but it could ramp guilt up in your body, because you'll wake up Sunday morning and then you might have a bit of a hangover day Sunday. And then Saturday, you can't answer the questions that are going to be going round in your head. Like, oh, you're going to be laid down and go, oh, what damage have I done? Oh. Next thing, you'll jump on the scales and see again, and you'll just put 2 and 2 together, get 17 and spit your dummy out. Whereas if you track your calories to the best of your ability, yes, you might wake up a bit hungover. Yes, you might be in a little bit of a food coma on Sunday morning. But when you go back in and go, do you know what? I normally eat 2,000 calories. My daily average is 2,000 calories Saturday, 2,000 calories Sunday. I banked 1,500 calories over the week. And yesterday, I had 3,500 calories. Right? Yes, it's way more calories than I would have normally, but it's all within calories. And I had a thoroughly good time. Right? The issue is now I'm laid there, I'm a little bit hungover, I'm dreaming of a McDonald's breakfast, I'm also dreaming of a Chinese for my tea, and to do that with 2,000 calories might be a bit tricky. And that's when you might, instead of having 2,000 calories that you've got left on the Sunday, you might have 3,000 calories. Again, track, be accountable, because at the end of the day, like I say, you've had a great weekend, you've had a little treat, you've had a bit of a blowout, right? But you're still in a calorie deficit and you're still losing body fat. So mentality is a massive thing. Mentality is it's probably the biggest thing when it comes to weight loss. And we do too many things, we do too many things where we don't support our mentality on a weight loss journey, like not tracking, just giving up halfway through. Oh, my week's not been great. I'll just give up. If you complete your diary week in, week out, it answers a million questions, because you might go, right, well, you might weigh yourself on a Monday, never go near the scales on a Monday, but you might weigh yourself on a Monday and you've gained 5 pounds. But when you look back at your app, you're like, I was in a 2,000 calorie deficit last week. Yes, I had a bit of a blowout at the weekend. It wasn't really planned, but I stayed as accountable as possible. I tracked my calories and I went 1,500 calories over my ideal deficit. So I'm still in a 2,000 calorie deficit. So if I've gained 5 pounds on a Monday, and sometimes it's hard to teach our brain to accept this, I've just increased my water weight and my food weight and my excess water retention. And again, hopefully you've listened to me long enough to understand that. Now, will you've increased, like, is the major part of that water weight? No. Is it food weight? Yeah. Right? Why? Because you've eaten more. Right? Is it excess water retention? Yeah. If you drunk alcohol, it's dehydration. Hot weather, dehydration. So, Saturday, I'm going to have a few beers. I'm going to have a barbecue. Got my mates coming round. We're going to have a few legs of darts, and then we're going to go to the pub at some point just for a couple of hours, sit in the beer garden, and then I want to be home for about 7:30. It's not going to be a long. It's going to be an afternoon session. Son's my mate's morning. His missus is picking him up at 7:30. I think we're going to watch the FA Cup final actually somewhere, and I'm going to do all that. Touch wood. Within my ideal deficit this week. I've banked 2,000 calories so far this week. By the end of today, I will have banked 2,600. By the end of tomorrow, I will have banked 3,000 calories. Yeah. My aim on Saturday is I have 2,600 calories a day. So I've got 2,600 calories. That's my starting point on Saturday. I've got 2,600 calories. That's my starting point on Sunday. Then got an additional 3,000 calories. Or I will have. But I have 4,100 calories Saturday, 4,100 calories Sunday. I could have 3,500 calories Saturday, 5,000 calories Sunday. How am I going to have a barbecue and a few beers within calories without blowing calories? Well, it might not light everyone's life up, but I have got a fridge pack of Bud Light, right? And those are the beers I'm going to have. I might treat myself to a couple of what I would call more premium beers to start off with. And then I will switch to Bud Light. Why? Because a can of Bud Light is like 130 calories. So I can have a few of them. Or I'm going to have Bud Lights at home. And then when we go to the pub to watch the FA Cup final, I might switch it up to a few more premium beers. Right? But if I have 4 or 5 cans of Bud Light here in the afternoon, it's 500-600 calories. I'm getting 5% fat burgers for the barbecue. And brioche buns and light cheese slices. So, all in all, Saturday is going to be relatively calorie controlled. I'm not going to have any. I'm going to skip breakfast. So, all in all, Saturday is going to be relatively calorie controlled. Now, when I come back from the pub, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit boozy. That can trigger overeating. But my plan is basically to have a couple of thousand calories throughout the day, and then have 1,500 calories left, maybe a little bit more, when I come in at night time. I'm going to get myself one of the doner kebab kits from Aldi, which I reviewed on Monday. The review for that, the full review will be out tomorrow on this week's worth of calories, but it was very, very good. And it's 600 and odd calories. So I'm going to get one of those in. So when I get in from the pub, I'm going to cook one of them. So I've got a little bit of a calorie controlled doner kebab, 600 calories. I'll probably have some crisps. I'll probably have a bit of chocolate. Then I'll go and collapse in bed. And if I do that, and then I've got a good few calories left over for Sunday to have a little bit of, I'm hoping it's not going to be what I would call a hangover day. It's definitely not going to be a code red. And there you go. And that's just, and sometimes we've just got to plan. We've just got to plan things like that. And if you plan it in right, you can still enjoy bits of life, I was and then I always say this, it's about making compromises, not sacrifices. Last weekend, it was baking, right? The sun was shining. It was absolutely amazing, right? And when the sun shines like that, I'll be honest with you, my resistance to having a couple of beers is extremely low. But I didn't last weekend. because my eye is on the prize of enjoying this weekend. And after this weekend, I'm not planning on having a drink until I go to Benidorm, which is 5 weeks on Saturday. That'll be my so I'll have a few beers Saturday, and then I'm not going to drink again until Benidorm. My next pint after this will be a beer in Benidorm. That's my plan. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. I find it a lot easier in January, February, March to go, I'm not having. The weather is a big trigger. It is. That's just for me personally. That's just for me personally. Anna, good morning. What's the best weight loss protein shake to take to replace a meal? So let's go into this. All right. There isn't a weight loss. There's no weight loss food, right? There's nothing that's weight loss food, right? We have certain foods that are more calorie controlled than others. We have certain foods that are more calorie dense than others. So we have certain foods that are less calorie dense, other foods that are more calorie dense. In terms of protein shake, stop using the word meal replacement. You're not. If you want to have a protein shake for your breakfast, have a protein shake for your breakfast. Don't use the word meal replacement. I really don't like it. I've never reviewed any meal replacement. I just think it gives a real negative terminology around eating. It's like, to lose weight, I can't eat meals. No, you can eat meals. Now, if you had, I get this, things like Huel and other complete shakes as they were. So they've got some carbs, some fat, some protein in there, lots of vitamins, minerals. So it's like this complete sort of shake that gives you everything you need. But I just hate the word. I just hate the connotations of it. Like, I can't eat a meal. I need to have no. Right, so let's stop using the word meal replacement. Right, if you want to have a shake for your breakfast or for your lunch, if that's what you want, have a shake. Yeah, but it's not a meal replacement. That is what you are eating or drinking. Right, for that, that is what your lunch is made up of. Right. In terms of weight loss, at the end of the day, most good quality protein powders are the low calorie. They have a lot of fat taken out of them, a lot of lactose taken out of them, So it's all kind of down to personal preference. My favorite, I haven't got a tub in here now. My favorite brand is Perform. It's not a weight loss shake. It's just a whey protein shake. It's just whey protein is basically when you make cheese from cow's milk, you get kind of a foam that sits on top, and it's basically the milk protein, or a good chunk of the milk protein separates out, right? And that gets skimmed off the top. Years ago, it will have just been a waste product. The old, I always use the old nursery rhyme, Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet eating her curds and whey. And that is like the byproduct of making, those are the two sort of byproducts that come off, or waste products as they were. But whey is extremely high in protein. So what a lot of people have done, or what they then did was, we'll extract that, we'll dry it out, powder it, flavor it, and people can have it as a basically what is a protein shake. My favorite brand is Perform. Right, I absolutely love it. It's not the cheapest out there, but I think the flavors are amazing. It mixes one of the best protein shakes for mixing that I've ever had. It's got a really good consistency. Some shakes are too thin, some shakes are too thick. It just, for me, ticks all the boxes. But but there's lots of good brands out there. The only whey protein powders that I would massively stick away from, right, are, if you ever go to Home Bargains, they might do them in B&M as well, the Snickers, Malteser, Twix, Mars protein powders. They are garbage, right? They are terrible. Because you don't get much protein. They're just really low in protein. They're very high in sugar. There's nothing wrong with consuming sugar. But when you want a whey protein shake, the point of it is to get a good hit of protein in. A lot of people get drawn to them because it's like, oh, it's a Twix. Oh, it's a Mars bar. Oh, it's a Malteser. They are, and the quality of them is just garbage. So those are the only ones that I would really stick away from. Like with a lot of things, the cheaper the product you might sacrifice some quality somewhere. So again, Home Bargains and things like that, B&M, they might do like USN. Some USN products are very good. Some USN products are not so good. Really, you should be paying for a 2 kilo tub of protein powder. You should be paying at least 40 quid, 40 to 50 pound, right? And it'll last you. You know, if you have a 50-gram scoop and it's 2 kilos, yeah, you get 40 shakes out of that, right? So it's like a quid a shake, which is pretty decent, you know. But it is down to a little bit of personal preference. How would you recommend steps, and how many a day? Some say no, don't have to. Some say at least 10,000. All right, Joanne Hodge, would I recommend steps? Yes. In terms of movement, not just exercise, just movement in general has a massive effect when it comes to weight loss, right? Any type of movement, whether it's enough to raise your heart rate enough to be classed as exercise, that's all subjective to the individual. But movement, just going for a walk, it clears the mind. It's great for mental health, right? Obviously, when you move, you are burning more calories than if you are sat on your bottom. So it does increase your calorie burn. Right? Walking, it's not very intense generally for most people, but it will improve your leg strength. It will improve several joint strengths. It will improve back strength. It can improve posture, right? So just going for a walk has got many, many benefits. In terms of a weight loss journey, I've already touched on these, but the two main benefits is, number one, it increases your calorie burn. The more calories you burn on a day-to-day basis, the more calories you can consume and stay in a healthy, sustainable calorie allowance, right? Your calorie deficit. So if you burn 2,000 calories a day, now sometimes calorie burn can just be relative to the individual in the sense that, you know, if you currently weigh 10.5 stone and you want to lose a stone in weight, the lighter you are, the less calories you burn while you are moving. And I always say this, the lighter you are, the more imperative it is you do move more. But anyway, another advantage of steps is most people, even with mobility issues, can get some steps in, right? They can, right? You know, not everyone, you know, when I was 37 stone and I started my weight loss journey, I would have found it hard to do any type of exercise. Now, my body improved pretty quickly and I managed to join a gym a couple of months into my journey. But when I first started, the first day I started my weight loss journey, I managed to go and get some steps in. Didn't get many in. For me, I got a lot in. But in numbers, I didn't get many in, right? So anyway, nail the basics, and going out for a walk is everyone should be going out for a walk. If you're currently averaging 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day and you're going to the gym 3 times a week, stop going to the gym and go for a walk instead. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not trying to discourage people to exercise, but let's nail the basics. Once you're nailing the basics and you've got a really good level of everyday movement in, aka steps, then introduce the extra cream on top, which would be doing some exercise, right? How many steps should you be doing? Again, that is quite subjective. I'm actually doing a weight loss coaching live today at 5 p.m. all about steps. And I'm going to go through, because I've had a little, not niggle, but I've had a couple of reports. I have an online community, and some people in there are feeling a little bit demoralized because, look, you're in a community with a lot of people. Some people are going to be at different parts of the journey. Some people are going to have different fitness levels. Some people are going to be able to do more than others. The saying I always use is comparison is the thief of joy. Never compare yourself to anyone else. Just do what you need to do. If you've got a peer, a colleague, or a friend, or someone in a community that is managing to do more than you, don't look at it as a negative thing. Look at it as a positive thing. Feel happy for that person that they're able to push themselves, because you need to understand what is your limitations. And we do have limitations when it comes to movement. If someone can do 50,000 steps a day, let them do 50,000 steps a day. It doesn't mean you have to do 50,000 steps a day, and it doesn't mean you should only ever feel like discouraged if you're not giving it your all. If you're literally sat, and I mean that sincerely, if you're literally sat there and seeing someone doing 10,000 steps a day and physically and personally, you're sat there going, I could do 10,000 steps a day. I just can't be asked, right? I might use an excuse of mobility. I might use an excuse of time. I might use an excuse of this or an excuse of that. But deep down, I know I can do what that person's doing, right? Now, that might be mentally taxing for you. But again, don't critique the other person for doing it. Just get it done. Get at it a little bit. Use it as a motivation. Right, they can do it. I can possibly do it. Now, it doesn't always work like that. What people need to understand with steps is, when I started my weight loss journey at 37 stone, I was doing 1,500 steps a day. To some people, they'd laugh at me for that. But I don't mean anyone ever did. But for some people, like 1,500 steps a day, what's the point in that? At 37 stone, me doing 1,500 steps a day with a lot of mobility issues is the same as someone that is 12 stone, that's fit and healthy, probably doing 12 to 13,000 steps a day. So what my 10,000 steps is and what your 10,000 steps is can be totally different, So we have to take into account, some people do a ridiculous amount of steps because of their job. Some people have a job like mine where I sit here for hours and hours and hours on end. Anyway, how many steps should you be doing? Yeah. How many steps should you be doing? Right? And the honest answer is you should be doing kind of what suits you. 10,000 steps a day is a good marker. Now, a lot of people, everyone loves to critique. Everyone loves to try and dissect, and anything that's popular, people will try and bring it down, right? That's something I've learned, right? Someone will only, people try and bring it down. So 10,000 steps a day has become a bit of a benchmark. And then you'll get people that will come on and go, well, it's just a marketing ploy. It's just this. And originally, it was used as a marketing thing, but no one knows if it was used as a marketing thing where it was made up or if it was used as a marketing thing because there was research behind it. But where the number 10,000 came about is the Japanese Tokyo Olympics, 1964, was, I think it was Panasonic, correct me if I'm wrong, or a company associated with Panasonic, brought out a pedometer. And they basically said doing steps, and this is 100% correct, is a great way of increasing your health and your fitness and improving your health markers. And what a better way to track how many steps you're doing than buying our pedometer. They then came out with, and a good level of steps to do is 10,000 steps a day, right? And a lot of people say that they came up with this 10,000 step number because the symbol for 10,000 in Japanese looks like a walking or a running man. I can't quite 100% see that, but anyway, by the by, that was 60 years ago. Yeah, we are now in. Oh God, I've got my word count going for some reason. We are now in 2025, and there has been a lot of study done on steps. And a study was done, it was in 2022, I think, or 2020. It was around COVID time, because around the only thing anyone could do with steps was go short. Everyone could go out for a daily walk and this, that, and the other. And it actually determined that the most benefit was achieved from doing steps at 9,800 a day, right? So what I mean by that was, when you do, they measured people at 3,000 steps, at 4,000 steps, at 5,000 steps, and they found that if you went from 3,000 to 5,000, the increase in certain health markers, in fitness levels, in reduction in blood pressure, all these sort of things that they were testing, right? Different hormones was crazy. Just another 2,000 steps a day. When you increased to 7,000 from 5, again, it improved massively. When you went from 7 to 9,000, it improved massively. 9,800 became the leveler. When they then tested people that did 9,800 against, say, people that did 12,000, the ramp up in health improvements wasn't that significant. And as you did more and more steps, the benefit I don't mean it decreased as in it wasn't worth doing, but it didn't ramp up. So basically, what this study said was, if you can do 9,800 minimum, it is a really good benchmark for like improving health markers, improving hormone balance, and all this, that, and the other. If you want to do 20,000 steps, go for it, but don't think going from 5,000 to 10,000 basically is amazing, right? Going from 10,000 to 20,000, yes, it's going to burn twice as many calories because you're doing double the movement, right? But it didn't and that's why we should be doing movement alongside increasing calorie burn, which gives us a better calorie allowance for weight loss, health, physical and mental health. So what I'm trying to say is someone's physical and mental health going from 2,000 steps a day to 10,000, crazy. Going from 10,000 to 20,000, yes, there was improvements, but not that significant, right? So from that, if you're literally there now, slogging your ass off day in, day out, trying to do 20, 30,000 steps a day because you think it's going to give you a massive health boost compared to doing 10, no. I would say to anyone, if you're doing 10,000 steps a day on a regular basis, on average, right, and you then want to massively improve your health markers, that is then when we want to start introducing physical activity, exercise if you don't already. Yeah, does that kind of make sense? I mean, so 9,800 is 10. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just quoting the study. The study actually found that it was like 9,800 was like this like thing. 10,000 steps a day. Yeah, we're not going to be overly pedantic about it, you know. So it's just about finding that balance. Now, like I've said already, I've literally done my weight loss coaching. I've done my 5 p.m. weight loss coaching live in this live now. But yeah, I'm basically going to repeat what I'm talking about in that live today. But it will be recorded and people can watch it back and so on and so forth. But as I've just said there, if you're currently quite severely overweight or you've got mobility issues, what you need to understand is like if you've got mobility issues, it's harder to walk. So, you know, I get a lot of people that are like, oh, I broke my ankle. I don't get a lot of people, sorry, that do this, but I do get the odd client that's, oh, I've twisted my knee, I broke my ankle, I'm on crutches at the moment. Shall I reduce my calories? I'm like, no. Why? It's flipping hard work walking on crutches. It's a lot harder than being able-bodied. Right? So, yes, you might be doing less steps, but I doubt you'll burn less calories because of how hard it is to move about on crutches. And people don't think of things like that, you know. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about steps anymore because I'm doing it in today's Weight Loss Coaching Live. If you would like to watch the Weight Loss Coaching Live this evening at 5 p.m, it is a live, but it is saved back to the Facebook group that I have. So if you miss it at 5 p.m, and you want to watch it back at a later date, you can watch it back whenever you want to on Facebook. I'm also in the process of uploading all the Weight Loss Coaching Lives to YouTube as well. The links will only be available if you are in my community. Yeah, if you want to join my community, TikTok profile, click on my link tree, Facebook page, YouTube page, click on my link tree, come join the community. It's £5 for your first month using code WELCOME. You get your calorie breakdown, so you know exactly the calories you should be on. You get a guide to bossing your weight loss. You get access to the Facebook group, the lives, the Zoom sessions that we do. You get access to a WhatsApp community. There's all sorts of bits and pieces in there. First one's £5, right? Just over £1 a week. So come and have a look, see what it's all about. I've been strength training and I've not adjusted my calories from sedentary. Is that a negative? No, not at all. And I'll tell you why. Are you still sedentary? So for me, this is just, again, for my own personal opinion, I actually don't put that much emphasis on exercise when it comes to overall calorie burn, because I hate to break it to a lot of people, you don't burn that many calories exercising. Or if you did burn a lot of calories exercising, you don't do it that often, right? And when I say that often, I'm like, I go to the gym 6 times a week and I'm there for like 45 minutes to an hour at a time. That's 6 hours a week, which you might be like, wow, that's quite a lot, Neil. I'm like, yeah, but let's look at it in the grand scheme of a week. There's 160 odd hours in a week, right? I literally go for like I spend 3% of the entire week in a gym, right? How many calories am I going to burn overall? You know? So my metabolism burns 17,500 calories a week. Me going to the gym 6 times a week burns 2,000 calories. Like, me going to the gym 6 times a week, I burn about 12% of my metabolism, of what my metabolism will be, you know? So, how you would base, and this is again a big issue with online calorie calculators. They ask you about exercise. Are you sedentary? Do you exercise twice a week, 3 times a week? I'm sorry, if you average 4,000 steps, I worked out calories yesterday for a friend of mine, and her average steps was 5,000 steps a day. She goes to the gym 3 times a week, and I'm like, yeah, you're sedentary. And she went, well, I go to the gym 3 times. I was like, and I didn't mean it. I wasn't being rude. I said that's great for your physical health. That's great for your mental health. But in terms of overall movement, going to if you look at the gym, you might burn at her current weight, she'll burn 250 calories in an hour training session. So if she does 3 training sessions a week, that's 750 calories. You divide that by 7 by going to the gym and training for an hour 3 times a week. Like I say, great for physical health, great for mental health. But in terms of, because what you're selecting your movement for on a calorie calculator is how many calories you burn, right? That's what the movement is there for. It's basically to go, right, we're working out your BMR, your metabolism, and now we need to work out how many calories you burn on top of your metabolism so we can create your calorie allowance. Well, if you're doing 4,000 steps a day and you're going to the gym 3 times a week, it's probably 150 calories a day you're burning, maybe 200, right? That's it. If you didn't go to the gym, but you average 10,000 steps a day, right, your average calorie burn would be about 500 calories a day, right? So there's a big difference in that, a big difference, So, it all depends. I base the majority of my clients' calories on their metabolism and their step count, right? And then if they do some exercise as well, I'll add a little bit in, not a lot. Normally for one exercise session, right, I'll add 50 calories a day. That's it, right? But for every 1,000 steps that someone does, I add 50 calories a day. Yeah. So if someone comes to me and goes, I do 10,000 steps, I'll add 500 calories a day to their metabolism, right? Ish. If someone comes to me, it doesn't quite work like that. I then also take into account weight. Again, if someone's 12 stone doing 10,000 steps a day and someone's 30 stone doing 10,000 steps a day, the person that's 30 stone is absolutely burning 3 times as many calories as the person that's 12 stone. Yeah. So again, there's a lot to take in. And again, online calorie calculators don't do this. They just have a very generic formula, which is why so many people don't get the results just by using a free online calorie calculator. So I base people, whether they're sedentary, whether they're lightly active, moderately active, or very active, I base it off step count, right? I tend to base it mainly off step count. Someone, like I say, if someone comes to me and they do 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day, but they go to the gym 4 times a week, I would class them as still sedentary because their actual movement is very, very limited. 10,000 steps for most people is about 90 minutes of movement a day, right? So 1,000 steps is about 9 minutes of movement, yeah? So let's say you go to the gym 3 times a week for an hour. That's 180 minutes, and you do 4,000 steps a day. That is around about 36 minutes, right? So let's a day, yeah? So 36 times 7 plus 180, divide that by 7, you are doing 61 minutes of movement a day on average. If you do 10,000 steps a day, that is about 90 minutes. So that's about 90 minutes a day. So you're doing an extra 30 minutes a day on top, right? Now you might be like, well, that's not that much. 60 to 90, it's a 33% increase in movement just from doing steps. Yeah. So I look way more at step count than I do it. Now, if you're going to the gym, if you're doing 10,000 steps a day, that's 90 minutes of movement. And you go to the gym twice a week for an hour, 90 times 7 plus 120, divide that by 7, and that's 107 minutes of movement a day on average. That is a really good level of movement. That would be my ideal for most. If most of my clients could average 10,000 steps a day and do 2 hours of exercise a week, an hour here and an hour there, or 45 minutes here, 45 minutes there, and then half an hour somewhere else, they would just find weight loss so much easier, much less hard. Why? Why would that level of movement make weight? Because if you are doing that level of movement, you're going to have a great calorie burn, which means your calorie deficit is going to be about as healthy and sustainable as it can be, right? If you've got someone that's 15 stone that's averaging 10,000 steps a day, that is doing 2 hours of exercise a week, they'll be able to have 2,200 calories a day and lose 4 stone in a year. Whereas if that same person that's 15 stone is averaging 5,000 steps a day, they're going to be around 1,700 calories a day, right? And set to lose the same amount of weight. And to try and stick to 1,700 calories a day compared to 2,200 calories a day, it's night and day. You might be sat there going, it's only 500 a day. Don't think of it daily. Think of it an extra 3,500 calories over a week. That is huge. That is a huge difference. Also, if my clients could average 10,000, and I'm not saying everyone physically can do this. I'm not saying that. I'm not critiquing, but if you could average 10,000 steps a day on average and do 2 1-hour exercise sessions a week, your mental health would be, compared to someone that's doing 5,000 steps a day, no exercise, your mental health would be on another level. Your hormone balances would be on another level. Your health markers would be on another level. All that makes it easier to control what goes in here. It will massively improve emotional eating. It will massively improve your mood. It will massively improve how you feel about yourself personally, right? So it's not just about calorie burn. It's about, I always talk about a domino effect. It would have this massive domino effect. And one thing I've noticed, I've had a lot of clients over the years that have struggled massively, right? They've struggled massively to be consistent. I've got one client now, I'm not going to mention a name. She's done amazingly in the last 12 months, like unbelievably good. And we've worked together for a long time. And I am immensely proud of her. But the biggest change that this person has done is they have literally took their movement from this to this, right? And whatever's been going on, however stressful work's been, whatever's been happening, they've took their movement from this to this, right? And by doing that, because work has been stressful, they've been able to handle that stress. When life's been stressful, they've been able to handle that stress. When they've had some battles where they may have had some scares in terms of health or family, they've handled it. And the biggest trend difference is their movement used to be this, and now their movement is this. And they're absolutely flying high. Honestly, it can be night and day. It really, really can. 20,000 and 10 to 50, Monday to Friday, and 10,050, what would that be classed as? What, in terms of movement, moderately? Honestly, I again, in terms of movement, in terms of what? Which online calorie calculator? What are you looking at? It's all different. I would class someone that just does steps as moderately active. It's got a good level of activity, right? It also depends how they're doing those steps. Are those steps done at work? Is it very stop-start? Are those steps done where you're doing I do two-hour walks and specific walks a day or something like that? Again, 10,000 steps is 10,000 steps, but then we also have to look at, if you do those steps stop-start at work, is that as beneficial to overall health markers as, I suppose that doesn't really matter when it comes to calorie burn. But I would say I only ever class someone as very active if they do steps and they also do something to increase their heart rate, right? Because, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying going for a walk doesn't increase heart rate. You know, if you come to me and go, oh no, yeah, but I do my steps because I go hiking all the time, uphill and down dale. I'm like, all right, okay. So this is what I mean. So there's lots of different things to look at. Lots of different things to look at, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're doing 20,000 steps Monday to Friday, that's 100,000 steps. And let's say you do 10,000 Saturday, 10,000 Sunday, that's 120,000 steps over a week. You know, that's 15,000 steps around the week on average, maybe a little bit more. It's a great level of movement, right? It's a great level of movement. You're going to be in a very good position. You're going to have a good calorie allowance, yeah, or you should do, you know. In terms of activity, 12 to 15,000 steps a day, 6 times 45 mins gym at the week. Great level of movement. Similar to me. Very soon. I average 12,000 steps a day and I do about 6 45-minute training sessions a week. Great level of movement. Because you're getting the best of both worlds there. You're getting a really good average step count in, right? And you're getting your exercise in. So really, really good. Like, super. Absolutely super. Yeah. Right, let me scan up. I've been absolutely knackered getting 10,000 recently, but at least I'm doing it. Yeah, and sometimes it will be hard, right? Sometimes it will be. You'll have weeks that are easier, weeks that are harder. Sometimes it's hard to get motivated. Sometimes it's easier to get motivated. Sometimes tiredness can come from other things. You might have a lot going on in life at the moment. Balance, you know? But one thing I will guarantee is, if you ramp up to 10,000 steps a day and it's hard, but you stay consistent with it, it does get easier. Your body will adapt. That can take a couple of weeks, that can take a couple of months, but your body will adapt to what you do. Yeah. 10,000 steps a day, 5 times 45 minutes a week, and weight training, 2 to 3 weeks, eating 1,800 calories a day, scales won't move. You're not eating 1,800 calories a day, right? Or you don't need to lose weight. Like, you can't lose what you've not got. It really is that simple. But I would say, if you're doing that much steps of movement, you know, you might then come to me and go, yeah, I'm 120 pounds. Like, what are you trying to lose? Like, scales are, you won't lose what you've not got. So if you're eating 18, if you're doing that much movement, great, right? And you're eating 1,800 calories a day, you could still be getting metabolic adaptation. Right? So, or the honest truth is, you're not eating 1,800 calories a day. You might think you are. Right? There's always a reason. There's always a reason. You know, if you come to me and go, no, I'm 12 stone, we're not eating 1,800 calories a day. That's dead simple. If you come to me and go 8 stone, oh, well, there could be a few other contributing factors in there. Yeah. You know. What is classified as excess weightlifting? I have no idea, Stefan. What's excess weightlifting? There's weightlifting, or there's not. What do you mean by excess weightlifting? Like, putting your body under resistance is basically increasing the weight from your body. So it's irrelevant what you weigh, right? Whether your arm weighs 5 kilos or your arm weighs 25 kilos, if you want to put that under resistance, you need to increase the weight. So whether that's with a 1 kilogram dumbbell or whether it's with a 10 kilogram dumbbell, I don't know what excess weightlifting is though. I've lost 50 kilograms, but I'm struggling to keep up my cardio now. I get puffed quicker than before. So what do you mean by, so you've lost 50 kilos, but you're struggling to, what? You mean your fitness has dropped as your weight loss dropped? You'll have to go into a little bit more detail with that one, I'm afraid. Where can I contact you for a business inquiry? You can't. I don't do business inquiries. Drop me an email if you want. But yeah, I don't do. I get so many messages from people. I don't do this. I don't do that. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's a business inquiry, and you're going to bring me, like, you want to be a client of mine, TikTok profile, click my link tree. First tab is an inquiry form. If it's a business inquiry, I can increase your business. I just delete them. I get about 10 a day on Instagram. 10 a day on Instagram. Hi, I've looked at your page. It's fantastic, but I have noticed that you could be doing this. Could I send you no, delete. See you later. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, my watch usually says about 800 average a day, calories minus 20%. Yeah, I just never really look at your watch in terms of overall calorie burn. I look at it more for accountability. You know, let me scan up. Drinking water is the warm weather. I know that sounds daft, but could it be? Hang on, what's Lou said it? Neil, scales are driving me mad. Stayed the same for 2 weeks. I'm doing my steps in a deficit. Drinking water is the warm weather. Warm weather can cause dehydration, right? So it can do. But if you're hydrated, it shouldn't be an issue. You're talking 2 weeks, Lucy. So yeah, you can get it where the scales will maintain for 2 weeks. What we have to understand is the scales weigh your weight; they don't weigh your fat. So the scales show your skin, your bone, your organs. Right now, they don't necessarily change quickly. What does change quickly is water weight, food weight, water retention, fat loss. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're losing body fat. Are there things that can happen within the body that can counterbalance that result on the scales? Of course there is. So, yeah, from being dehydrated, your body stores more water. Why? It kind of works in reverse. You'd think, well, if I'm dehydrated, it's because I've not got enough water in my system. When your body feels dehydrated, it retains water, so you don't pee out what you should be peeing out. Why? Because your body isn't confident that you're keeping it hydrated, and you need water to live, right? So it will retain excess water as a failsafe. So because the body's not like, well, I'm just dehydrated because this person's lazy at drinking water. The body doesn't know. The body doesn't know if you're on a desert island. The body doesn't know if you're stuck out in the middle of nowhere. The body doesn't know, right? So it has little fail-safe systems, and one is retention of water. So it will try and hold as much water as physically possible. So if you are going to go through a period where you can't drink, you don't die, right? When you are hydrated and your body is confident that you are hydrated, it won't have a need to hold excess water. Don't worry, on excess water retention can happen for other reasons, but in terms of dehydration. So if you are dehydrated, you will be holding excess water. When you get hydrated, you will then pee a lot for a day or two and flushing out the excess water that's been held. And then you stay hydrated. You should be weeing every hour to 2 hours, and then you're all good. Now, can the hot weather cause some dehydration? Yeah, because you might be sweating a bit more, and this, that, and the other. Hot weather water retention, I would guess. Think I'm in the same boat. Yep, it can happen. Very, very common. Google will shrink. They fill with water. I don't know who's told you that. Pot smoke. What the whoosh effect isn't anything to do with fat cells shrink. Fat cells don't shrink. You burn body fat, right? How we lose fat is not because our fat cells shrink. We use body fat. So this is body fat, and it is fuel. Similar to putting, if you go now and put oil in a pan, which is fat, or you go and put butter in a pan, which is fat, right? Butter will actually burn because it does have other things in it. But if you put oil in, like vegetable oil in a pan, right, and you turn it on hot, it will heat up. It will then start smoking, and eventually it will set on fire, right? Fat burning, right? When we burn body fat, we take our fat and we metabolize it through the liver and we use it as energy. The byproduct of burning body fat is carbon dioxide and water, right? And the waste matter, similar to like carbon monoxide that comes out of your car exhaust, right? It's a waste matter, right? And the carbon monoxide waste matter from burning fat, we breathe out. The water waste matter from burning fat, we sweat out, we pee out. You do not sweat out or breathe out fat, by the way. So don't think there's fat particles in your breath, or there's fat particles in your pee, or fat particles in your sweat. It is just the byproduct of, think of a hydrogen engine. The byproduct of a hydrogen engine is water vapor, right? It's water vapor, right? It comes out, right? The whoosh effect is basically when we are if we are living an unhealthy lifestyle. I did a video on this actually a couple of days ago. When we are living an unhealthy lifestyle, we have excess water weight, excess food weight because we eat too much, and we have excess water retention generally in our body. When we go into a calorie deficit or on a diet, right, our average water weight and average food weight reduce because we are consuming less food, right? And our excess water retention will reduce because generally we put things into play like getting hydrated and we eat a bit healthier. We tend to have less refined carbs. So, and all this reduces down alongside losing body fat. That is what the whoosh effect is. All right. So it's an overall reduction in what we store in our body. Yeah. So it is something to do with warm weather. Pop smoke, unfortunately. Yes, warm weather can cause dehydration, and if you are dehydrated and drinking lots of water, your body will be retaining some of that water. Yeah. There's a lot of fallacies about fitness, a lot. Yeah. What is classed as exercise in the gym? Would that be weightlifting or something else? Exercise doesn't. What is classed as exercise is where you take your heart rate. It doesn't matter what you are doing, right? Now, yes, we have certain exercises that we might class as cardio, which means we take we do an exercise that is more triggered to improving our cardiovascular system. And then we might have exercises that are more triggered to increasing strength in our joints and our muscles, which would be weightlifting. But really, what is classed as exercise is where your average heart rate sits when you do an activity. If you deep clean your house for an hour and your average heart rate sits, that is exercise. If you yesterday I did some weeding, and my neighbour Margaret, who is an older lady, and she has a very big garden which she struggles massively to maintain. So basically a load of her trees tend to overgrow this time of year, and these types of plants that invade our garden. So I did spend yesterday chopping down a load of her trees, which is perfectly all right with people. Go, you shouldn't be touching your neighbour's trees. No, she's fine. I can chop her trees down on my side and on her side as well. She's more than happy for me to do that. And I did it for about 45. I was de-weeding. I was weeding the garden, was chopping these trees down, filling up my green bin, doing this and that. I was sweating, right? Now, I don't know what my average heart rate was, but sweating, when you're doing an activity, sweating is a byproduct of aerobic exercise. So aerobic exercise is when your heart rate sits between 60 and 80% of its maximum heart rate, right? And you will sweat. So if you're doing anything and you're sweating, now don't get me wrong, if you're sat in the sunshine and you're hot, sweat can also be a sign of your body trying to cool itself down. So if you're already sun lounger and it's hot and you start sweating, that isn't cardiovascular exercise. But if you're doing an activity and that activity is causing you to sweat, that is aerobic exercise. Yeah. So exercise is literally, so going for a walk can be exercise. When I go for a walk, my average, for me, to class anything as exercise, so 60, your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. So I'm 44. So 220 minus my age is 176. Right. This is just a rough guide. It's actually a bit higher for me because I'm quite fit and healthy. But if you take 60% of 176, it's about 110, right? Not to be pedantic. So anything I do where my heart rate averages 110 beats per minute or more is classed as exercise. The higher the average, the more intense or more physically demanding that exercise is. So when I do my spin class, right, I average between 140 and 160 beats per minute on my heart rate. Quite intense exercise. Yeah. So exercise isn't about, for me, this is just my own personal opinion in a way, but don't get wrong, the heart rate thing is right. Cardiovascular exercise, aerobic exercise, anaerobic. So aerobic exercise is when you take your heart rate between 60 and 80% of maximum. Anaerobic is when you take your heart rate between 80 and 100% of maximum, which you'd struggle to do, right? Because if you take the closer you take your heart rate to what is classed as maximum heart rate, your body cuts out. I don't mean it cuts out as in you die or you faint or anything like that. Your body will go, yeah, you're done now. You can't push yourself any further. So a classic aerobic exercise is something we can do for a long period of time. Anaerobic is something we can do in short blasts. So, for example, someone might go for a 5K run. A 5K run would be classed as aerobic exercise because you are doing something for 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes, right? However long it takes, it might take an hour, right? Anaerobic exercise would be sprinting 100 meters because you go as fast as you can over a short period. And that speed that you might get to, you can't do it for longer than 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds before you go, I can't move anymore. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah. So what you class as exercise is where your heart rate is. Yeah. Unless your heart rate spikes all over the place. Heart rates do spike. Yeah, that's just is what it is. Certain heart rates go boom and then come down again. So that's why we look at averages, right? So it's not about what we do in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It's about what we do on an average. So if anyone here's got an Apple Watch, I don't know how any other watches work. They're the same. Apple Watch has a heart rate monitor. Whenever you're doing any type of exercise, select a workout. That could be an outdoor walk, an indoor walk. It could be spin. If you watch my weekly weight loss vlog, right? If you watch my weekly weight loss vlog, I show, when I do a spin class, I show my entire workout and you can see where my heart rate shows my average heart rate, but you can see there's a little graph that shows you where my heart rate goes throughout that workout. Yeah. So it's always right. So it doesn't really matter if your heart rate, if it spikes, if it drops, whatever. It's where it's at over a 30-minute period, over a 45-minute period. Yeah. And that's when you can understand. So basically, do a workout, have a look. I can't show you now. I don't think I can get my activity on my iPad, and I'm on my phone, so I can't really go in and show you. I don't think. Oh yeah, it has. I've got the fitness app on here. Do I have to sign in? Will it just work? I don't know. Activity for you. Yeah, where's mine though? I don't want Apple Fitness. I just want to look at my own bits and pieces. I don't think it does. I thought it was going to come up then. I've got my health app. I can go into my health app actually. Activity. But I don't know if I can go into each, if it brings up my exercise in here. Activity, physical effort. Yeah, I don't think I can look at my workouts. No data available. Brilliant. Yeah, I don't think I can look at my individual workouts. I'll have a look. Otherwise, I'd show you, so I could show you what my average heart rate was lifting weights this morning compared to what my average heart rate was doing my spin class on Tuesday night. Yeah, does that make sense? So if I go for a walk and my heart rate doesn't spike, is it pointless? No, absolutely not, because you're still burning calories, you're still moving, you're still getting out in the fresh air, you're still clearing your mind, right? Exercise is about getting physically fitter and healthier, right? But if you go for a walk and every time you go for a walk your heart rate averages 100 beats per minute, it will eventually go down to 95. It will definitely go down to 90 because your body will adapt and it'll get fitter. Nothing's pointless, right? It's not about we can't just say, oh well, if I go for a walk and I'm not sweating, it's no. Going for a walk. It's great, right? Loads of physical health, mental health. It's just what's going to improve things, yeah, I always track when I do my walks. I've got it up to 107 beats per minute, but need to be careful now. You don't really, Stefan, and I mean that in. I know you've had a bit of a scare this week, but you don't really, because like I say, the body's a very clever thing. You don't have heart attacks from exercising. You don't damage your heart from exercising. You improve your heart. And your body, like I say, anaerobic exercise, your body has a cutoff, right? So when you've got people that are doing like intense exercise in films and then they're having a heart attack, that's just a movie, right? It doesn't work like that, yeah? So, don't get me wrong, certain heart conditions, yes, we might need to watch spike in our heart rates and we might need to, but like I say, for most people, and you've told me the condition that you've got, I've got the same condition. Most people that have had a severe weight issue at certain points in time will have the same condition. That's just, anyone that's had a period of an unhealthy diet, you've just had it diagnosed recently. Yeah. And we should be working, if you're worried, your heart's a muscle. The more you move it, the stronger it becomes. The stronger it becomes, the less it has to work to pump blood around your body. That is what the heart is. Cardiac muscle, right? How you have a lower heart rate, right? People resting heart rate 70, people resting heart rate 50, right? What is the difference? The people with a resting heart rate of 50 have got a healthy heart. It's a strong heart because one beat, boom, pushes loads of blood. If your heart's weak, it takes more beats to get that blood around your body. And we can improve our heart. Now, don't get me wrong, certain situations, if people have had a heart attack, they might need to take physical activity easy for a period of time. But, it's something I've always, it's something that I shouldn't panic about. I have abused my body for 25 years of its life. And I can make my heart stronger, but I cannot improve the damage I have done through overconsumption of certain things like saturated fats, the things that are in my arteries. You can't really reverse that. All I can do is do the best I can going forward and try and treat my heart to the best of its ability. How do I treat my heart to the best? I exercise to make it as strong as it can be. I'm fully aware. I reckon at some point in the future, I'm going to need stents put in my arteries because of the plaque buildup that I have in there from being overweight for so many years and years and years and years of overconsumption of saturated fat. It's just what it is, right? But as long as I stay healthy, I work at keeping my LDL cholesterol under control, I exercise on a regular basis, I'm doing the best I can do now for my heart, and hopefully that will prolong things for the future. There we go. That's it. We've had a full health breakdown. I was meaning, so I walk faster. I would. Yeah, progression's really important, right? If you currently, if you do the same walks every day at the same pace, your body's going to adapt to that to a certain point. If you then want to progress further, yeah, walk a bit quicker, walk a bit further. There's lots of ways to progress. We should always be looking to progress, whether it's just going for a walk or whether it's exercising in the gym. We should always be looking at progression to get fitter and healthier. And don't get me wrong, you can always get to a certain level where health and fitness, you don't need to be any healthier or fitter than you are, But if you feel you can push yourself a bit more, push yourself a bit more. That's all good. Right, guys, I have got to go. It has been a pleasure as always. If I've not answered your comment or anything like that, it's nothing personal. I've just not got to it. It was a busy one this morning, which I absolutely love. Right, guys, I will. If you're on plan or in the community, I will see you lovely people in about 6 hours, 20. No. Yeah, about 6 hours and 20 minutes. So 5 p.m, Weight Loss Coaching Live. We're going to talk all about steps. And I've talked about it a lot in this live, so there is going to be a bit of repetition there, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail as well. And yeah, there we go. That is it for this morning. So TikTok, I'm going to sign off with you first. TikTok, I will be back at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I will see you guys then. And Facebook, YouTube, exactly the same if this is how you like to watch me. I will be back at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. tomorrow, and then I'll try and do a weekend. I'll do a weekend sign off, something like that. Which will be around about, don't quote me on this because it just depends how busy I am, because Friday is my really busy day. But round about 4:30, 4:45 tomorrow, half an hour, 45 minutes, I'll just jump on. Last live of the week, and we'll sign off for the weekend. Right. Have a great Thursday. If you're not a planner in the community and I don't